Airstrikes on crowded UN shelters in the Jabalia refugee camp in northern Gaza killed more than 80 people on Saturday, as Israeli plans to expand operations into southern Gaza deepened fears for hundreds of thousands of civilians sheltering there, underlining that there is no safe place for civilians in Gaza. At least 26 people were killed in an airstrike carried out early on Saturday morning outside the southern town of Khan Yunis. Al-Shifa, the largest hospital in northern Gaza, was evacuated with all but 120 of its most vulnerable patients and the 5 doctors who would care for them. As the S continued to fall, only basic medical resources remained in the area for new victims. Officials from the Hamas-run Health Ministry said at least 50 people were killed during an attack on a UN-run school in the Jabalia camp, and 32 members of single family, 19 of them children, were killed in an attack on another building there. Photos taken outside the hospital Indonesia showed more than 20 bodies lined up in rows and wrapped bloody sheets. UN officials condemned the deaths. Shelters are places used for security. Schools are where learning happens. UN humanitarian chief Martin Griffiths said on Channel X. Tragic news of children, women and men killed while seeking refuge at Al-Fakori school in northern Gaza. Civilians cannot and must not endure this any longer. The Israeli army, which warned people of Jabalia to leave the area in an Arabic social media post, declined to immediately comment when asked about attacks. For weeks, Israel has been calling on civilians in and around Gaza City to head south to protect themselves. And many have heeded the call. Last week, Israeli army for first time urged people to leave areas around town of Khan Yunis in south, including those migrating from north. A group medics, patients and refugees walked out of Al-Shifa hospital, the largest hospital in Gaza. Here, Israeli soldiers spent their 4th day searching for evidence. Hamas underground command post Hamas officials claimed that the Israeli army ordered everyone to leave the hospital. A spokesman for the Israel Defense Forces said they were facilitating the evacuation requested by medical personnel, patients and internally displaced persons at Al-Shifa hospital in Gaza City earlier this week. Ismail Zanoun AFP shelters overcrowded. Food and water supplies are so scarce that the UN has warned that Palestinians face the imminent prospect of starvation. Infectious diseases spreading and fighting there is expected to intensify in the coming days. At beginning war, as Israeli planes struck northern Gaza and troops were preparing to enter area, Israeli messages urged civilians to move south of wetlands Gaza Valley for their own safety. Despite the risks, travel and overcrowding in shelters and private homes, hundreds of thousands people complied with these orders. The UN said about 1.6 million people, more than 2/3 of the population, were displaced. They found